At this point, since the R600's already been removed, I can go ahead and remove my hoses. I can remove my access valves, remove my clips. And 4. What I'm going to want to do is remove my dryer and my compressor. Now, at this point, take your tubing cutter and you can remove your compressor. What you want to do is cut as close to the sweat joint as possible so you don't lose any tubing, but at the same time cut far enough up that you're not grabbing any of the solder because that would prevent your lock ring from going on smoothly. So I came up just above the solder joint. When I first started, I was a little lower, but I caught a bubble of solder and I just moved up a little. Now once you've scored the steel, a pretty good score, a lot of times you can remove, take a pair of pliers or something and slightly twist, and if you've scored enough, it will snap perfectly, just like I did there. At this point, I can now lift my compressor out, and what you're going to want to do is have your pinch off tool. You're going to want to pinch the ends of your compressor. Now, remember, I said this compressor could hold 50 to 60% of your charge, so you're going to want to make sure you're getting a good pinch. Now, also put a hole in the process tube, so I'm going to pinch behind it also, and I'm going to kink that over and get those pinched up. Remove my grommets. Okay. Now, at this point, guys, take the compressor outside. The dryer, you can cut it out later and throw it in your trash box, but the compressor, since it has part of your charge left in it, go ahead and get it out of the house. We're discussing ways of sealing or whatever. We'll get back with that. But for right now, do a good pinch off and go ahead and take this out of the home. Now, if there was a way you could put it in a box beside your truck until you're ready to pack it up, a lot of the newer vehicles now have a cabinet where your flammables are supposed to go that's vented to the outside. That's where I'd put this compressor in its box until I was ready to dispose of it. But pinch this up real well and get it outside. Remove our dryer. When you cut the dryer out, when you cut the cap tube, keep your hands on it. Don't let it fly around. Believe it or not, we just recently had to inspect a refrigerator. It was an RA that evidently when the guy cut it, it flipped and actually hit the mastic on top of the compressor, and he had a restriction that couldn't be found. When we got it back, the guy that did the autopsy, the evaluation, he found black mastic stuck in the end of the cap tube. So guys, control it and move it to where it's not going to be hurt or get in the way of anything. Seems silly, but anything we can do to help prevent an RA takes care of our customer, makes us look better as techs. All right, we've got everything cleared out. I'm going to put my 2 grommets back where they go. Move my electrical out of the way. Now, I know for my lock ring dryer, I'm going to need a 4 to come from here to my dryer. And then I'm going to need a 4-2 to put my dryer to my cap tube, which is this one. You get your new compressor, remove your stubs, and go ahead and clean all your joints. Now, prior to this, guys, we're not going to reteach lock ring, but you would have to go use your micrometer, measure, and get your right sizes. I've already got the sizes out to go in here. If you need training on lock ring usage, in eLearn, we have a whole section devoted to lock ring. So I've got my lock rings out. I've got my joints are all cleaned up for the lock ring. And what we're going to do is we're going to put this in, put our dryer in. I've already got my dryer sitting ready, and go from there. So let's get started. Now, one, two, three, and on lock ring tool, as always, make sure your pins stay in the right position. And just like using a torch, I like to start from the back and work forward so that I don't interfere with anything. Get my towel over here. Okay. Okay, got it to spin. If you notice, I pushed everything in so that it would keep tension on itself. Good looking connection. Now, the more we work with lock ring, the more we find out things. And the biggest reason we have leaks with our lock ring is after making connections, guys tend to move until they move it before the lock preps had a chance to set. Now, guys, we've put out numerous times that the lock prep needs to have about 7 minutes on copper and about 9 on aluminum, and that also depends on the temperature in the room. So I try to give at least, say, 7 to 10 minutes after I make a joint before I do anything. So just keep that in mind as we go through. Now, unlike using a torch, and believe it or not, we've seen a problem here, you don't have to remove the Schrader pin, but keep in mind, from the factory, they're not tightened down. So just because you're using lock ring, don't forget, you need to take and fully screw the Schrader pin into the valve and tighten it. Okay. And that's why you have a towel here, so when you make a little spill. Okay. Okay. Remember, you can cut this down if you don't need all the length. You don't have to leave. We always leave a lot of excess because we don't know what you're going to have in your particular area. Just remember, if you cut the dryers down, always leave that 30 millimeters there to work with for your lock ring. And a lot of times I will cut them down just so they fit back in the original spot that the factory dryer was in. Once again, don't forget to tighten your Schrader down. You can do it before or after you put it on, but since I'm not using a torch, I'm going ahead and putting it on now. Tightening it up is just one thing I don't have to worry about forgetting or having to work with it later. Remember, the Schrader always goes on the entrance side. So what we've got to do here is we need our 4-4, which will go here and here. And then we're going to need a 4-2 because that's going to go here. And our cap tube is going to come in. And now that I think about it, let me dry fit the cap tube for a minute. Now, when you put the cap tube in, remember, it needs to come all the way through the lock ring and extend out the other side. And that means you got to get more of the cap tube perfectly straight, which sometimes is fun to get. There, made it through. So what I'm going to do is back this off a little bit, add my lock prep, slide it back in, twist it, add my lock prep. Don't get it near the end because I do not want to clog my cap tube with lock prep. Twist it. Lock prep. Lock prep. Okay. This is also where you should give a thought about how you want your Schrader. How do you want it positioned so you won't have to be trying to bend the entire dryer. a little awkward, but I'm trying to make sure we get good shots here. All right, a little trouble with that last one, had to reseat, but looks like we got a good one. I'm not going to mess with this. Now, when we say that 7 to 9 minutes, guys, that's from your last joint. So right now, I can either sit here and twiddle my fingers for 7 to 9 minutes, or I could do something that I need to do anyway. I can go ahead and put my electrical back on. Now, I can also do this when we're pulling the unit down into a vacuum, but I could carry tools out, whatever you need to do, but always, when you're on these jobs, try to use your dead time to your benefit. Still got a few minutes, so again, things that need to be done, get done. Put your clips back on your compressor. Now, if this machine compartment was real tight, I'd put my gloves on because it's a cut area. But seeing as how open this one is, I'll have to get that fourth clip a little later. All right, 10 minutes is up. Now, a couple of more things we're going to do here. Return your dryer to its location if you can here, because I moved it over just a little. What you'll find is this area right in here, generally, if you can't get it exactly back in the same hole, you can come over just a little bit and just put it right here. Secure the dryer down. Okay. Now, we're wanting to make sure that I didn't leave a leak.